Newark International Airport. I stepped off the plane and into America for the first time. I was 18 years old. I had no money, not even a penny. And I was wearing a suit that was way too big for me. My pastor in Uganda had given it to me. He was over 6 feet tall, big build. I am 5'8". And at the time, I was very, very thin. But it was the nicest piece of clothing I had. So I wore it. The airport was massive, bigger than any building I'd ever seen. And the people? Black, white, brown, yellow, and every shade in between. I had never seen that kind of diversity in real life. We made our way to the immigration office. My mother, my 2 brothers, me, 4 of us. We'd fled the Democratic Republic of Congo to Uganda. We'd been living in Kampala. Now we were here. The immigration officer looked at our documents, then looked at me in my oversized suit. He smiled. "I like your suit," he said. I wondered whether he was being kind or amused by my attire. He processed our paperwork, gave us our I-94 and work permits. Shortly after that, we boarded a plane to San Diego. My sister and her family were waiting. They had prepared so much food. The next morning, I woke up early. I couldn't wait to see America. This was America, the place we'd been waiting for, the place that meant safety, freedom, a future. And he gave us all 3. What I didn't understand yet was how much there was to learn, how many systems I would need to navigate, how complex freedom actually is. Freedom doesn't come with an instruction manual. You have to figure it out as you go. I'm Mucyo Balinda, and this is the third voice. Last week, I introduced you to this podcast and promised I'll tell you the full story of a seatbelt ticket I got 2 weeks after arriving in America. This is that story. Not because it's extraordinary, it's quite ordinary, but because it taught me something about American justice that shapes everything I do now. 2 weeks after arriving, my friend James offered to drive me around San Diego, show me the area. His Honda Civic had no air conditioning. We drove with the windows down. Then I saw them, red and blue lights, flashing behind us. A police officer walked up, asked James for license registration, then looked at me. He said something. I heard the word belt, but couldn't understand. He said it again, louder. I tried. "I'm sorry. English. I don't." He pointed at me, then pointed at the ground outside the car. He wanted me to get out. I stood on the shoulder of the highway, cars streaming past. My hands were shaking. I'd seen enough American movies to know. Young black man, police officer, side of the highway. This could go very wrong. He asked for identification. I gave him my I-94 form from the airport. He studied it. The silence stretched. Finally, "Where are you from?" "Congo," I said. He pulled out a book and started writing. He tore out a page and handed it to me. The paper was covered in small text I couldn't read, except the number at the bottom. $150. I had no money, not a penny to my name. Back in the car, James explained, "Seatbelt. You need wear." I looked at the belt beside my seat. In Congo, in Uganda, seatbelts were optional. I hadn't even noticed it was there. But here, not wearing one was illegal. I looked at the citation in my hands, at all the English words I couldn't read. How many other rules were there that I didn't know? How many other ways could I break laws I'd never heard of? A week later, I went to traffic court. I'd practiced what I wanted to say, written it down phonetically. When my name was called, I walked to the front on shaky legs. The judge looked at me. Do you understand why you're here? I know about seatbelt. In my country, we don't. He cut me off. Where are you from? Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. How long have you been in the United States? 2 weeks. I am here 2 weeks when he cut me off again. Sir, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You are in America now. You must follow American laws. But I don't know American law. Nobody tell me about. That's not the court's responsibility. It's your responsibility to know the laws of the country you're in. He looked back at his papers. The fine is $150. You have 30 days to pay. Next case. The bailiff gestured toward the door. I walked out. Standing outside that courthouse, I felt something I'd never felt before. Not hot anger, cold determination. The judge was right, technically. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. But here's what I realized years later. Even if someone had told me about the seatbelt law, even if I'd tried to read California Vehicle Code Section 27315, I wouldn't have understood it. Because laws aren't written for ordinary people to understand. They're written in specialized legal language. And when ordinary citizens can't understand the laws that govern them without hiring experts, that creates a problem for democratic governance. Because democratic consent requires comprehension. You can't truly consent to laws you can't understand. I made myself a promise that day. I will learn this system so well that I can help others navigate it. That promise shaped the next 20 years. I taught myself English obsessively, PBS every night, legal dictionaries, ESL classes, paralegal program. Eventually, I became a registered court interpreter. For 15 years, I interpreted in federal courts, state courts, immigration courts, family courts, in Kinyarwanda, Kirundi, French, Swahili, Lingala, and Luganda. But it wasn't just translating languages. It was translating legal language into ordinary language. Because even native English speakers don't understand legal language. The single mother in family court who can't follow the judge's questions. The defendant in criminal court who doesn't know what plea bargain means. They all speak English, but they don't speak law. And I watched the same pattern repeat thousands of times. People being punished for not understanding rules they'd never been taught. Not because anyone was cruel, but because the legal system was built by people who already understood it, for people who already understand it. When you build something for insiders, outsiders struggles. That's not malice. That's a design challenge. So why am I telling you this on a podcast about the Supreme Court? Because this challenge exists at every level of American justice. But nowhere is it more consequential than at the Supreme Court. The court makes decisions affecting every American's fundamental rights: abortion, guns, voting, speech, religion, privacy, and explains these decisions in 50-page opinions written in highly specialized legal language. Latin phrases, constitutional theories, legal precedents from 1803. You could be highly educated, college degree, successful career, and still not be able to read a Supreme Court opinion and fully understand it. Not because you're not smart enough, but because it's written in specialized language you weren't taught. So what do? You rely on others to translate. Your news outlet tells you what it means. But conservative media says one thing, progressive media says another, and you can't check their work against the source. You have to choose which translation to trust. That's not full democratic participation. That's democracy through translators. And when you can't verify the translation, when you can't read the source yourself, how do you know what the court actually said versus what someone wants you to think it said? You can't, unless you speak the language, and most Americans don't. That creates a legitimacy challenge, because the court's authority rests on public acceptance. The court has no army, no enforcement power. The court's power comes from the American people accepting its decisions as legitimate. And legitimacy requires understanding, not agreement. We'll always disagree about controversial decisions, but understanding why the court decided what it decided. Right now, most Americans can't do that. Not because they're not trying, but because the court speaks a language they weren't taught. I love American democracy. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the Constitution. But I also believe that promise is only as strong as our commitment to making it real. And making it real requires making it comprehensible. This isn't about attacking the Supreme Court. This is about fulfilling the promise of the Supreme Court. The promise that in America, power answers to the people. But for power to answer to the people need to understand what power is saying. They need translation. That's what I did in courtrooms for 15 years. Standing between judges speaking legal language and people speaking ordinary language. Translating, not changing the law. Not taking sides, just translating so people could understand what was happening to them. That's what this podcast does for the Supreme Court. I'm not here to tell you which decisions are right or wrong. I'm not here to tell you how to feel about any issue. That's your job. But you can't think for yourself if you don't understand what you're thinking about. So every week, I'm going to translate what the Supreme Court is doing. When the court issues a major decision, I'll explain in plain English what the court actually decided, what reasoning they used, what it means for your life, why different people interpret it differently. I won't tell you what to think, but I'll make sure you can understand what happened so you can judge for yourself, so you can participate as an informed citizen. That's democratic citizenship. That's what makes judicial power legitimate. Not agreement, understanding. Next week, we're going to start digging into how the Supreme Court actually works, how cases get there, who the 9 justices are, how decisions get made. The basics explained like you didn't go to law school. Because if that 18-year-old kid with the seatbelt ticket could learn legal language well enough to interpret it professionally, you can learn enough to be an informed citizen. That's the promise of this podcast, making sure that when the court speaks, citizens can understand, so democracy can work the way it is supposed to, with the consent of the governed, real consent, informed consent, the kind that requires comprehension. I'm Mucyo Balinda. This is the Third Voice. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.